Hey out there, Slot Car Land. How's everybody doing this fine weekend? Hope everybody's doing well. If you're living up in the Pacific Northwest, I hope you guys are dealing with this snow fairly decent. We've got a lot of it. It's still snowing. It's been snowing since Friday morning, and it's still snowing, so we're getting quite a bit. I know they got quite a bit down in Oregon and over in Idaho, so drive safe, be careful, and hope you guys make it through this okay and everything comes out on the other side. I hope everybody's enjoying the race action. I hope you're not getting too bored of it. I think we only have 4 races to go, I think. Something around those lines. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. Just uploaded the Tyco HP7 race today, all 10 heats. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you're watching, taking in all the race action and all that good stuff. The Promoter's Choice race will probably be up Tuesday evening-ish or Wednesday sometime. So be on the lookout for that as well. So, don't forget to check out slotcarcrazy.com. You can check on the point standings. You can check on all the other websites you have there and all that kind of stuff. You can also find the 3 websites you're going to need to find the stuff that we're going to talk about today that'll help you, in the long run, assemble your Fray build, and on top of that, any other build for that matter. So, we're going to take a look at what we got and all that good stuff. So, we're going to be dealing with 3 websites you're going to need to find this stuff. The first one will be rtho.com. The second one is Scale Engineering. And the third one is VRP Products. Now, I did say before that these are the things that you should have, and some of them you don't necessarily need. But right now I'm going to say that if you're a slot car guy and you build your own cars and everything, you should have all of these tools to begin with, because they help your builds immensely, totally, whether you're doing T-Jets, whether you're doing freight cars, whether you're building magnet tractions or whatever. Some of these things come in handy no matter what car you're working on or what car you're building. So that's my thing right off the bat. So let's take a look at the items we have from RTHO first, and then we'll look at the Scale Engineering stuff, and then we'll look at what you can get from our VRP products for the build. First off, what you're going to need, and what you're really going to need, is a tech block. It comes in really handy if you have one that has a hole all the way through it like this one, because you can use the backside, as I've shown you before, for making sure your chassis are flat and all of that good stuff. And you're going to need one of these to make sure that your freight car is the right width to go through the tech block. That's a definite must. You must have one of these. This also works for any other class, except for kind of modern day magnet cars. But all your cars should, whether it's your Fray builds, your magnet traction, your non-mag cars, all that stuff should fit through the tech block. So that's definitely a must. This is from RTHO. Granted, some of this stuff's going to cost you. Not a lot of this stuff is cheap. Something you really should have, whether it's from RTHO or whether it's from somebody else, is a good wheel puller. I know RTHO makes one. I believe Scale Engineering makes one. I know Wizard makes one. No matter what, this comes in handy no matter what you're working on, whether it's your T-Jets, freight cars, magnet traction cars, your fast magnet cars, whatever. You should have a good wheel puller in hand to be able to use. So you can find this particular one at RTHO. I believe he currently has them in stock as well. He runs out of stock periodically on these, but I do believe he has some in stock right at the moment. The other thing you're going to need is a really good gear press and all the anvils to go with it to assemble your motor plates and all that stuff. These work great on T-Jet motor plates, they work great on magnet traction motor plates, and they work great on non-mag motor plates. So you definitely want one of these, and you want all the anvils to go along with it. You're going to need 3, is it 3? Yeah, there's 3 different anvils that you're going to need to assemble your motor plate for this. So make sure you pick one of those up. Make sure to pick one of these up. The anvils and the gear press are separate, but you can buy them as a package deal from RTHO. So that is your gear press. Next up, you're going to need one of these. This is a T-Jet only item. This is your motor plate idler gear post expander is what this is. And what it does is it pushes down in the center of the that the pin on the motor plate where your idler gear sits and expands it slightly so your idler gear doesn't float up and down as much. That's what this is for. This one happens to be from RTHO. I know RC Lincoln at Wizard makes one of these as well. You can pick up one from there. Matter of fact, he just posted the other day that he has them in stock, so you can go there and pick these up as well. So either RTHO or Wizard, they are slightly made different, but they do the exact same thing. So that's another thing that you're going to need to have. So that's everything from RTHO. So let's take a look at Scale Engineering. First thing from Scale Engineering that is definite must, and this is another item you should have no matter what cars you run. You should have a really good wheel press in your toolkit. Whether it's Scale Engineering, whether it's any other brand out there, Wizard, there's a couple others, can't quite remember their names. Make sure you also have all of the sized ends to different sized wheels to put on all your tires and everything. This thing is great. It saves on tires from you screwing up trying to put them on without one. Definitely a must for any slot car racers to have a good wheel press in your toolbox, along with everything else that goes along with it. Next up, we have, this is another thing you're definitely going to have if you're doing a good Fray Build. This is a pinner, and we'll show you how to use this. What this does is it shrinks, essentially, the axle holes, front and rear. You don't use it as much in the front as you do in the rear on your chassis to make sure that your axle in the back doesn't go up and down, back and forth, and sideways and stuff. It makes a really snug fit for that axle so it doesn't float a lot, so you don't upset the chassis as much. So we'll also show you how to use this in the video when we get to that point in assembly. We'll show you how to use this. This particular one from Scale Engineering comes with 2 different pins for 2 different sizes. I would imagine this one's a slightly bigger one. This is probably for Magna tractions and non-mags, and this is probably the one for the T-Jets because I do believe the holes are slightly different sized. So you're definitely going to need one of those. Something to have if you're using a older, whether you bought when you bought a T-Jet chassis itself and you're tearing the motor plate apart, you're going to need a good gear puller. This one happens to be from Scale Engineering as well. Make sure you have a good wheel puller, a good gear puller. This is for the rear. The one for the motor, one I do not have right now currently. I'm probably going to need to pick one up sooner or later. Is a good one for an armature remover as well. They also make one of those as well. I don't have a particular one of those yet, but I'm going to be picking one of them up soon. That's one of the few things I do not have in my arsenal right now, and I'm going to need to get one of those. Another thing to kind of handy, you can use one of these for this, especially if you got one of these that's hollow with a through and through. These are your axle installers. These happen to be also, again, from Scale Engineering. For installing your rear axles, to get your rear axle in straight, true, and especially if you're shimming your gears and everything, and we'll talk about that when we do the assembly. But these are a definite handy thing to have. I do believe they come in the pair, and that is also from Scale Engineering. Now, this is something you don't necessarily have to have, especially if you already have a tech block with a through and through hole. This is a setup pad. Also from Scale Engineering. This does the same thing as this does. It makes sure your chassis are completely flat. You're not teeter-tottering. You're not bicycling, riding on a wheel on this side or this side. It makes sure your chassis is completely flat. You definitely want that. The cool thing about this one is you can use it this side if you're using it without pickup shoes, and you've also got this side that has slots cut in it for the pickup shoes to go down in, so the car sits flat on the setup block. So, you can either go both ways. This one works really well too to make sure, make sure your shoes aren't pushing your front end up and all that good stuff as well. So you can go either way, but it's kind of cool if you have both. Another thing you definitely need if you're racing, and you're racing on the many different types of tracks, whether you're running on clip-togethers, routed tracks, or the old style pin and joiner tracks, you definitely need a guide pin sizer. That's what this is. This is from Scale Engineering. It's got all kinds of different sizes on it for cutting your guide pins. When you buy extra long guide pins, which is something you should do when you're running T-Jets anyways, whether you're running stock T-Jets or Fray cars or super stock or whatever, you can cut pins and make pins for specific size racetracks, and because each one has a different guide pin depth on all three of those racetracks. So this is something that you already probably should have. If not, I would suggest you pick one up, especially if you run a lot of T-Jets, whether they're stock or Fray cars or whatever. Another thing you really should have is a pickup shoe setup block. That's what this is. This goes from point 010, 012, 014, and 016 for setting up your pickup shoes to make sure your pickup shoes are completely flat all the way across the surface. So, as I drop it, definitely something you should have in your toolbox no matter what, because you can use this to set up any of your shoes on any of your cars to make sure they're all set up exactly for the type of track you're running, because each track, again, just like have a different guide pin depth, each track also has a different rail height, whether you're running, and even your routed tracks from a Viper to a Bowman to a Max track, all vary in rail height along with your clip together tracks. So you're going to have your shoes set up for each one of those racetracks, kind of like us. In our group, we run on Tome AFX track. We run on one Bowman. We run on one lock and joiner track at Jim's house, and of course we run on the Bowman at Stan's house. So all three of those have different rail heights. So you're going to need to make sure your cars are set up for each one of those racetracks. Definite must. If you want the most performance out of your car, it starts with your pickup shoes. Don't forget that. Something else you're going to need, and you don't necessarily need a block like this. You could get some really fine sandpaper as well and do it that way. This is for your pickup shoes, for sanding your pickup shoes to make sure they're completely flat. Even if you got a brand new set, you want to make sure they're nice and smooth and completely flat, especially before you start doing your setup with your pickup shoe block. Definitely going to have this. This one's not necessarily a must because you can use just sandpaper itself. You can just lay it down and do it on your desk or whatever. But this does come in handy, so definitely a must there. Something else you're going to need, and we'll talk about this in assembly. We'll give you the size and everything. This is a axle blank. This one happens to be pointed at the end of it for installing your rear gear, especially if you're shimming it, because you can put the gear on here, the shims on here, and put this in the chassis, and then you just put your axle you're using in the other side, and you just push it in, and it pushes this axle out the other side, and it pushes your axle right into the gear and the shims and all that stuff. This is some grease here. Not quite sure what type it is. This was sent to me by a friend of ours. This helps keep the shim on the end of the gear as the other axle's coming through. So we'll show you all of this as we're assembling. So you're going to need a good axle blank that is slightly smaller than your axle that you're using, so you don't have the gear spinach after you're done. So that's a definite must. So all of that stuff is from Scale Engineering. Let's talk about VRP products now. Definitely, as you guys have seen time and time again, it's nice to have a dyno to show you how your car is performing, your chassis is performing, and all that good stuff. I need to get my extension to this, the amp draw meter, to go along with this, so we can see how much the car's drawing, because you want the highest number on the dyno you can get and the lowest number on that amp draw that you can get. The lower the amp draw, the less resistance you've got and the smoother your car is, and then the higher it is on the dyno, the faster it's going to be. So definitely a dyno is definitely a must to have. If you're buying a lot of magnets and you're trying to match your magnets to get them as close as you possibly can, you're going to need a downforce meter. Like I've showed you how to use this in the past, definitely a must to have. Granted, all three of these tools together are going to probably run you right around $300, maybe slightly more, but they are definitely coming in handy, especially if you want to make sure your magnets are as matched and close as possible. This also helps with your downforce readings and all that stuff. And then something that's not necessarily as critical, but something that does help is your shoe tension spring. this will also help you. You can also test your on a non-mag car and on a T-Jet. You can test your motor brush tension as well with one of these, as well as that. So something else to think about. It's not necessarily something that you really absolutely need, but it could come in handy if you have one. So that's everything for our Fray Build. All the tools you're going to need to do this assembly. Granted, you're looking at probably, including the 3 items from VRP and all of this stuff, granted, you're probably looking at right around $500. I'm not kidding. But if you want to be serious and you're a racer and you want your cars to be at their peak performance, you definitely need the tools to get that car to that peak performance. So you got to do the investing. If you're a mechanic, you got to have the good tools to do the job. If you're a racer, and in the slot car world, you got to have the tools to set the car up to make sure that car is fast. And that's what this is all about. It's just an investment in your time. It's an investment in the cars, and it's an investment in how well that car is going to be on the racetrack. So remember, the 3 places you're going to need are rtho.com, scaleengineering.com, and vrpproducts.com. You can also find all 3 of those websites at slotcarcrazy.com under the Fray Parts tab. Just go there, go to the vendors, and you can find all 3 of those vendors there, also along with Wizard, and a couple others there as well for your other parts if you want to go there to get the same thing. So hope you guys have a great week. Hope this video helps you out. Our next step in this build, we're going to assemble the motor plate. That will be our first part we're going to put together on this build. We'll do that in 2 weeks. We'll put that plate together, and we'll show you the tools you're going to need to do that and show you how to use them and how to assemble that motor and get that motor plate all together and ready to rock and roll. So hope you guys enjoy the race action. Don't forget about the Promoter's Choice race. Will be up probably Tuesday evening, Wednesday sometime. We are racing next weekend at Mark's house. Second race at his place. Elijah's going to be there this time, so we'll hope to see what happens. It's magnet traction and magnet cars. It's going to be fun. Mark's got a really interesting Promoter's Choice race lined up for that as well. And hope you guys are enjoying all the stuff we do here, whether it's here on the YouTube channel, whether it's over on slotcarcrazy.com and all the things Jim does there and the things that I contribute there as well. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook as well. A lot of great people there. A lot of great information. A lot of people that can answer a lot of questions on that group. We've got over 3,000, probably it's almost pushing 4,000 members there now. And there's a lot of people there that can help you out with questions. If I can't help you out, they can help you out there, whether it's technical questions, whether it's chassis questions, or whether it's just you're looking for something and they might know where you can pick it up. So go check that out as well. So hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you on Tuesday or Wednesday with that Promoter's Choice race, and then we will see you after that. We'll probably see you probably Tuesday or Wednesday of that next week with the first race from Mark's house, and then we'll be that next weekend after that. We will be doing the motor plate assembly for this Fray action, for this Fray build, and all that good stuff. So have a great week. Keep that pin in the slot, them wheels on the downside. Keep racing slot cars, and I'll catch you guys next week with more race action. I'm out. Bye.